Despite being the only candidate in this race who has graced the cover of the Tortoise magazine, RFK Jr. probably won't be our next president. But for the deep-pocketed donors funding his effort to get on the ballot in key states, that's not really the plan. So what is the plan? And who exactly is bankrolling RFK Jr.'s presidential push? It turns out the answer has a lot more to do with Trump than putting a Kennedy back in the White House. Maybe you missed it amidst the chaos of your MAGA uncle complaining about Taylor Swift, but that RFK Jr. ad definitely aired during the Super Bowl. The 30-second commercial was not paid for by RFK Jr.'s campaign. He actually had nothing to do with it. In fact, after it aired, he turned to Twitter to express regret and offer apologies to his own family members, some of whom felt that it marred the family's legacy. So who actually paid for this ad?
American Values 2024 is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
American Values 2024, the super PAC backing Kennedy, dropped a cool $7 million for the spot, which about 124 million people saw, or 124 million more eyeballs than that magazine about turtles ever got. And propping up American Values 2024 is a large group of big donors. Kennedy is just the face emerging from the trench coat, but he's on the shoulders of a bunch of millionaires and billionaires who are driven by one goal: to get RFK Jr. on the ballot in all key states across the country. Doing a majority of the legwork here is the super PAC's biggest donor, Timothy Melon. In fact, more than half of the $38 million raised by American Values this cycle has come from Timothy Melon alone. So what's his deal? Does he have a track record of trying to get longtime Democratic falconers turned independent anti-vaxxers into the Oval Office? Well, not exactly. Melon, who hails from the 34th richest family in America and likened anti-poverty programs to slavery, has long been a significant Republican donor. He's given tens of millions to Republican congressional super PACs. He's generously funded Trump's super PAC, Make America Great Again Inc., to the tune of $16.5 million over the span of just 2 years. He was even Trump's top donor in 2020, and it doesn't look like he's going to stop tossing money at Trump anytime soon. His last donation of $5 million to the pro-Trump PAC came on January 30th, 2024. Just 22 days prior, he sent the same amount to the pro-Kennedy PAC, making it pretty clear that Timothy Melon doesn't want Kennedy. He knows Kennedy can spoil a Biden win, so he's keeping him afloat. And keeping the Kennedy Jr. boat afloat is his second biggest donor.
Gavin Becker. Remember that name.
Becker is a billionaire author and a hired security guru for the stars. He wrote a book called The Gift of Fear. It's basically about trusting your intuition and your gut in order to avoid danger and not thinking logically.
But the reality is that logic is plotting and unoriginal and far too slow to be useful in an emergency because it's slow to accept reality and it's burdened by judgment.
It would be in this context that Becker would donate more money to Kennedy than any other cause he's ever supported. In total, he's given $10 million to American Values, although nearly all of it was later returned to him. It's an unprecedented arrangement where Becker loans the super PAC money and they refund any unused funds. So what's in it for Becker? Kennedy's campaign has paid Becker's security firm $1.9 million for security services and travel expenses. Becker is the biggest line item for Kennedy's campaign. Perhaps one of the more mysterious sources of funding for the pro-Kennedy super PAC is coming from a family office called Planeta Management LLC. The business, which was registered on August 18, 2022, has given American Values 2024 $4 million. So who's behind the donation? On filing paperwork, the CEO's name and address field were left blank. In other words, we have no idea who the third biggest donor to Kennedy's bid is. We do know his fourth biggest donor, though.
CEO of Centner Academy, Layla Centner, spoke Tuesday about her school's controversial new policy trying to keep teachers and staff from getting life-saving COVID vaccinations. In a letter to parents, it suggests tens of thousands of women worldwide had adverse effects, including hemorrhaging and miscarriages, just by being near someone who had the vaccine.
Layla Centner has so far donated $1 million to the pro-Kennedy super PAC. Now, I'm not saying that the private school CEO is yet another die-hard Republican donor, but previous donations have gone to volleyball star George Santos and former President Donald Trump. Beyond that, a multitude of donors have contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the American Values 2024 group. People like Robert Bishop, a hedge fund founder who has previously supported a pro-DeSantis super PAC and Trump's Victory Committee. Skyhorse Publishing, the firm behind RFK Jr.'s literary works, and other notable figures like billionaire John Paul DeJoria, the founder of Paul Mitchell Hair Care.
You can do well for yourself by doing good things for other people.
All of these pro-Kennedy donations have so far been bearing fruit in a big way. With the help of American Values 2024, Kennedy Jr. has gotten on ballots in key states like Nevada and New Hampshire. Additionally, he'll appear on the ballot in Hawaii and Utah, and the Super PAC announced that they have collected enough signatures to get on the ballot in Georgia, Arizona, and Michigan, 3 critical swing states with razor-thin margins. Getting on the ballot isn't cheap. American Values has plans to spend $15 million to get their guy on the ballot in all 50 states. That cash is earmarked for hiring a brigade of canvassers who will be hitting the streets, knocking on doors, and getting signatures. And just to make sure they've got all their bases covered, they've brought in 3 canvassing firms to get those signatures.
We're going to be able to get on the ballot in 50 states and the District of Columbia. It will probably cost us around $15 million, maybe more, to get on the ballot, but we're going to be able to do it. This is forcing us to build an army in all 50 states.
But Kennedy has no chance of winning. So why are some of the wealthiest people in America spending millions to get him on the ballot? Well, because almost all of these pro-Kennedy donations are coming from people who've long supported Donald Trump. It's no surprise to see what an RFK Jr. presence on the ballot does.
But when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is on the ballot, Trump's lead over Biden expands to 5 points, 36% to 31%, while Kennedy nets 16% of the vote.
So that's the plan. As Kennedy secures ballot access across the country with the backing of American Values 2024, the stage is set for an incredibly impactful electoral presence. Kennedy's donors know that he'll never step foot in the White House, but that was never their goal. Their goal is to ensure that Trump does. They know the truth about RFK Jr. on the ballot, that a vote for him in actuality is a vote for Donald Trump, which is why it's crucial that you know this now. Because with plans to spend millions more and canvassing efforts underway, the momentum behind Kennedy's campaign seems to be moving at a pace way faster than that tortoise. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. And if you have ideas for what stories you want More Perfect Union to uncover next, drop them in the comments.